Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. What a treat. We have Connie Collins here. She is a story specialist, and we're going to find out what that is. But good morning, Connie.
Good morning.
First of all, I think of you as a photographer and a videographer and a script writer and kind of following your career.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay. Well, I started out in theater. Was in theater for a couple of decades. Yeah, I'm going to be giving away my age here. And then I had a commercial photography studio for a while, during which time I kind of fell in love with filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I started doing that in 2002 and still do it to this day. So I kind of blended theater and commercial photography together into, producing video stories.
Theater and photography, and then make it move with video.
And then make it move. Yes, exactly.
What was it about it that made you fall in love with it?
Well, it could have been that my first short film got into Cleveland.
Oh, that is amazing.
That kind of spoiled me. Nothing I've done.
Let's hold on there because the Cleveland Film Festival is a big deal. Cleveland International Film Festival, which is hard to get into that one. Those of us locally, we live so close to Cleveland, we don't think about this. But there are folks out in L.A., there are people from around the world who would give their eye teeth to make it in the Cleveland Film Festival.
Yeah, and I
Your
did.
first time.
The programmer loved my little story.
Well, tell me what it was about.
About a little boy who doesn't have a happy life inside his home, and he sees some new kids move in cat-a-corner to his house, and they put up a trampoline. And he wants desperately to be on the trampoline. And he goes over and he tries to be allowed to, but the mom there says he has to get permission from his mom, which he can't do for reasons I won't reveal. So he sneaks in there one night to jump on the trampoline by himself. Cat-a-corner on the other side is an old man who's about to lose his independence because of something that's wrong with him. He sees the little boy on the trampoline, and he goes over and they jump on the trampoline together.
Oh.
So the last scene is their delighted faces, leaping up into the screen and spinning and doing circles, and everyone from the neighborhood comes out to watch these two. Oh, I considered them either ends of one life, the little boy and then the old man.
Sure.
So that was it.
I can see how that got picked. That's so fun. So the bug had bit you. You wanted to make a film again, make lots of films.
Yeah, I'd always loved to write, and then to combine it with visuals. Yeah, kind of took to it. It was a natural convergence of everything else I'd done before.
Mm-hmm. And there's something about storytelling.
Uh-huh.
And that brings us to what you do.
Okay.
So you are a story specialist.
That's what I call myself.
Let's connect the dots. How did you come from filmmaking into helping other people tell their stories?
Needing the money.
Okay. Very practical.
Well, right. It was very practical. I was trying to, first of all, I was noticing a gap and noticing that gap was going to widen for small business people, that the absolute need to have video to market yourself, right?
Absolutely.
If the only way you could get it was by paying an ad agency or a production company, those folks were going to fall by the wayside. So
$1,000 a finished minute back in the 80s.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I saw an opening there that would enable me to help those people. So effectively what I'm doing is teaching them my industry.
Could there be a better time for small businesses to be able to do just that? Because the technology is so commonplace. Yeah. Everybody can do it. We've all got it in the palm of our hand with our phones.
It's in everybody's hands, but not everyone knows how to master that or how to tell a story with it. So as a result of that, we have a lot of kind of cheesy video out there, which doesn't help small businesses at all. So what I do is teach them the basics of storytelling, and then how video in specific does the telling, because it's a form unique to itself. Like, you wouldn't take the rules of public speaking or of writing essays and apply them to a video.
Right.
It has its own unique.
It's a different kind of writing.
Yeah, different kind of rules and grammar. Maybe.
Yes, different grammar and storyboarding, kind of thinking in visuals before you put the whole thing together. Connie, why are you giving away all these secrets?
I know. Well, I don't give them away for free. So my clients I've devised a defined and repeatable workflow that they can follow endlessly to devise really focused stories, short, pithy, like 45-second to a minute long things. That same workflow enables them to not go crazy, first of all, after they've done it for 5 years and they have all these files floating around. So I teach them an archiving, sensible kind of workflow. And then in that same set of documents, they learn to think visually. And honestly, when I see them catch on, they just light up. And, and we could do one about this, and, we could do one about that. People have tons of stories that they can tell if they can push past some obstacles.
What are those obstacles?
One of those obstacles is that they have assumptions about what they should say.
Right.
So what I help them do is push past that to kind of unearth what they do have to say. And then we have to push past all the words they try to explain it with and uncover the meaning. Then we take the meaning and we weave it into the basic 3 elements of a story. So,
which have
you have a main character who's going through some kind of conflict, and in facing that and overcoming it, they become different than they were at the beginning.
Yes. And
that they, as storytellers then, can craft that main character's journey. That's their value proposition. And it can apply to machines they use. It can apply to ideas. It can apply to, you name it. There's so many attributes that somebody's dealing with in a business that makes them unique, right? That shows us who their heart is. Those can become stories. So
you have hit on what the newest trend in branding is right now, story branding. I think it's a New York Times bestseller right now. And part of it is that we've always thought when you're trying to present your product or your company to someone, you're the hero in the story. They're the damsel in distress and you're the hero. It's the other way around. You're a client, that's the hero. And you are that person who comes alongside. You're their ally. You're their ally. You're the second, you're the Robin to their Batman. And so, but they are the hero in this story. And how difficult is that to get companies to understand that concept?
Very good question. Well, I don't end up being able to work with ones that don't get it.
Sure.
But actually, that hasn't happened yet. Anyone who sits with me and listens to this, I just see them light up. I think everybody's hungering for real and authentic and human, which is why story branding's such a big hit, right? But maybe need help to know how to be that transparent or know how to be that themselves. So I have a client, Chrissy Myers, who is the CEO of AUI, which stands for some other long thing that has to do with health insurance.
Okay.
And Chrissy decided to take the plunge and begin to produce video. Half the time in the beginning, she didn't know what I was talking about, but she knew she needed video. And what I saw in her was this delightful, fun person who's in the midst of an industry that we don't think of as very fun and that we actually are quite suspicious of. She's the most trustworthy person. All the folks that work in her office are awesome. And now, after a period of 6 months, there's a nice number of videos out there that show this fun group of people who also help somebody navigate, the pitfalls and everything about health insurance. And her kids even play some of the characters.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So we did one about the war on talent, how hard it is for small businesses to keep and attract good talent when a larger company can attract them with the benefits. Well, she's helping small business people do that, right? So her little son, and dressed up in camo, and he's drawing out battle strategies on a blackboard. He's looking mean. He's looking through blinds, and he's warning people. You can't see what I just did, but it was adorable. And
she's doing that eye thing, that pointy eye thing.
Right.
Yes.
And that got him a lot of attention.
Oh, how cute.
Because it was light.
Yeah.
It was delightful. And the meaning of who she is and what her company is was communicated in that. And all her other videos are ending up like that, too.
Oh, that's so fun.
Her daughter, Maddie, is going to do a Dear Maddie series where people write in letters, and then she's going to, give them the smackdown on
Oh, my goodness. So does she have her, a whole YouTube channel now?
Growing. It is growing.
How fun.
Because I'm helping her. So some of the things, I've taught her how to shoot for herself. Some of the things that she will shoot herself, and then when she wants something to look maybe more highly produced, she uses Jenny Young.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of equipment does a person need to get started on this?
Okay. So this is part of what I do, is kind of remove the intimidation factor of the camera. because first what I teach them is what the camera does, not how to work one. Because if you know what it does, then it doesn't matter what your camera is, right? So a phone.
A phone is amazing.
A phone is amazing. It needs some help with audio.
Right.
You have to either hold it at arm's length or have some other way to do that. But there are very affordable ways to even hook up an expensive Sennheiser to your iPhone. And then oftentimes you can just use the sun, but it also helps in some instances to just have a little wee light that you can bounce off a white wall or that you can use to illuminate the... So I boil it all down to just some basics, be seen, be heard, and show stuff.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
There's no huge list that is required.
What about editing? People get a little intimidated with that as well.
Right. Well, so for my clients who have me on retainer, I do the editing for them.
Oh, aren't you smart?
And
That's
we
nice.
We work this out to such an extent that by the time they send me the footage, it's labeled correctly. It's like I put it together and then I work a little magic in the editing. But also some people that one of my clients does want to learn to edit. I'll teach her.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think also it does teach a person when you are thinking, how do I want this to look in the end? You kind of start at the end and work backwards and shoot the sequences of video the way you want it to, make it easy on the editor. So you're kind of putting together exactly.
It's a quilt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I like that.
I teach them that the structure is like a quilt.
Mm-hmm.
And what that also does for them, they don't have to shoot it in order. If they have a scene that needs a sunny day, they just know they have to wait for a sunny day, go out and shoot that particular whatever. And then once all the shots are done, that's when they send it to me. But that quilt, understanding that, in the business we call it a storyboard, but I call it a quilt because it's less intimidating. If you can think in those terms, then anybody can do this. Yeah.
Yeah, and really a storyboard, I think of it as almost like a comic book. You know, you've got one little sequence of things happening after another and puts together and it tells a little story.
Right.
It does help people put together their thoughts, but what is it that makes it difficult for people to be able to get from here to there?
To do their own storytelling?
Yes, to be able to tell a story.
I think the intimidation factor is pretty high with video. Chrissy Myers, the client I mentioned to you before, she was intimidated by video. And she says, I just kicked the intimidation right out of it because I held her hand as we went through it.
Yeah.
So I think it's not knowing what they don't know. Because what they don't know about storytelling and video production is a ton. It's a huge chasm. Right?
It is a chasm. It's a great chasm.
So just not even knowing, it is a great chasm. So catching on to a few of the basics, then they quickly start to catch on and then even know what kind of questions to ask. So one of the big obstacles is just not knowing what's possible.
Isn't that anything? We don't know what we don't know until someone can kind of show us, oh, wow.
Right.
When you think about it, doesn't every business have a great story?
They have more than one. Yeah, they really do. As I say when I go out and speak, a machine has a story. Let's say a business has a certain kind of machine or a certain kind of workflow, or they're working with certain materials. All of those things are stories, not to mention the people that work there, not to mention the mission of the CEO. It's like we used to think story meant how you got into business.
Yeah.
Nah.
What we do.
It's so much more than that.
Each person there has a story. When you think of every client, every customer has their own story.
And they have, especially in the people that I'm working with right now, I'm kind of awed at how much they have to offer the world in terms of their knowledge of leadership, their knowledge of their ways that they do business. All those things are educational, right? And these are folks who give back a lot too. So.
Yes. We were always taught that testimonials are the most powerful tool as far as selling. That I don't think that changes. How do you incorporate testimonials into these kinds of videos and the storytelling?
Okay. Well, I'll start with saying what happens first, which is people come in and say, we need 3 or 4 videos for our website. And then we sit down, or they say, we need 1 video. We sit down and we start to talk. And somehow, with the process that I engage in, they end up finding out they have 20 stories.
Yeah.
And one of those might be a testimonial. And one of those, or 10 of them might be testimonials. One of those might be for a specific kind of customer. One of those, they might be testimonials for a different kind of service. So everything starts to fall into buckets. They end up thinking they just needed 3 or 4 videos, and they end up having a year's worth of strategy for stuff they're going to release.
Now, aren't they going to be excited when they see all this? They've got themselves a marketing plan. It's pretty fun.
I see their faces light up, and I'm like, yeah, this is why I do this.
Back in the day, everybody had to have their 10-minute video. That would. So how has that changed now?
That's, in my opinion, that's where a lot of meh happens.
Yeah.
Because we aren't that way anymore. So the 45-second, the 30-second, the 15-second, the minute, you can hold somebody for 10 minutes if your storytelling's good. So that hasn't gone away. It depends on the context, but if it's online, probably not. So what's the context? Mm-hmm. If it's, say, a training video, those can be longer. Mm-hmm. And you can hold someone's attention if the storytelling is done well. But online, we're better off shorter, which means we have to put more thought into the messages. It actually requires more rigorous work.
It's harder, isn't
it? To
get
them to shrink down. Yeah.
And to get something just in 1 minute, because if you want to air it on Instagram as well, then you don't get longer than 60 seconds for that one.
Right.
So,
one of the things I'll reveal about my repeatable workflow is that the first thing we do is define the message in one sentence.
Isn't that smart? Well, thank you for sharing that tip for us.
And you can cut this part out if you like. But I encourage people to insert bad words, because if
Connie Collins,
well, it just makes it more real. Because they'll start out with, well, what we want to do is all kind of words. No, tell me what the message is. This does not have to go on. Or aren't you sick of this? Really kind of real things in one sentence. And then the process from
then
there
narrowed on
is,
down.
Is narrowed, yeah. It just keeps getting more specific. And the more specific you get, then the more it tells you what the visuals are.
Oh, isn't that
You
interesting?
don't have to go do fancy camera moves. The way the message ends up being written really kind of tells you how to make it visual.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always thought, too, when someone gives you their testimony, their story tells it, and then that does tell you what visual should go over it.
Yeah.
Again, which can be done thanks to iMovie on our phones, which just blows my mind. I'm looking at the clock. We do need to take a little break here, Connie. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.